What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the After Credits scene. We're doing our forecast and predictions for episode 3 of Moon Knight. Whole lot of stuff to talk about. Episodes 1 and 2 took us immediately to some places that, I don't know about you, I wasn't expecting. We are now in Egypt, moving forward, and a lot of our predictions have to do with that very fact. Not just Egypt, but what we saw at the end, where the hotel room that Marc was in was kind of in disarray, and he was drinking. Something's going on there, and so a lot of our predictions have to do with those things. While you're here, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, and then share this video all across the multiverse. Let's get right to it. First off here, I think we've got no place to go but back. I think there's going to be a lot of backstory at some point here. I'm making some bold predictions about some of these things here, because with Marc in Egypt now, we got a lot of not just blackouts, but information about Khonshu, information about Harrow, information about how did Marc end up with Moon Knight? How did Marc end up married? How did he end up in Egypt? Why does he not want to go back there? I'm betting the idea that he's drinking, that he's upset about being in Egypt, means that there's a lot of things there that he's having to fight against. He's got a lot of inner demons, no pun intended, to fight through. And it's going to mean that the writers, I think, have kind of not necessarily painted themselves into a corner, but they've got time to take an episode or two and kind of look back a little bit, even if it's only for about half the episode. Also, if I'm looking at Marvel movies and shows thus far, episode 3 in a lot of the Disney shows usually takes a little bit of a detour. So I think some of these things are going to happen. I think we're going to get a little bit of backstory here because we kind of need it. Trouble brewing, 100% certain here. Now I could say 40%, 50%, and I could be kind of right because Marc and Steven have DID disorder, and then so there's all kinds of trouble brewing on the inside, but I'm going to get specific here. I think Marc told Steven that something was changing, that the body that was in charge of that was in charge kind of was able to control things better. It wasn't just that Steven could jump back and forth like he had been doing before, like we saw in episode 1. But Marc even says something is changing. He doesn't really know what either. And so Steven is becoming aware that he's got multiple personalities, multiple lives, not just that he has some kind of sleeping disorder. And so there's going to be some trouble here, some internal struggle, especially because Steven is now stuck inside his own mind with Khonshu. And so the conversations, is there some kind of mindscape that they can kind of have a conversation, or things are going to go on? I think we're going to get to see something happening there that's going to lend some more credence to all this other stuff that we saw over here. I'm going hard in on the fact that Steven's going to save the day, except I got my little Mr. Knight icon here. I don't think it's going to be in the form of Mr. Knight. I think we're going to see him a lot more, and I think Steven is going to use that personality, but I don't know if it happens in episode 3 or 4. I think maybe he pops up later. But Steven is the one that knows more about Egypt than I think even Marc does. I think Marc's expertise was more in the espionage range, and he didn't do all the research and the background information. Marc's going to go looking for Amit's tomb, but Khonshu is going to have some information that Marc doesn't have. Steven's going to be able to talk on that level, and I think Steven's going to be able to save the day there. Steven's going to be more useful than even Marc would want to realize, because they spent a lot of episode 1 calling him an idiot, calling him stupid. Marc, you got to calm down. Marc, Steven, you got to calm down. All these kind of things, and I think Steven is going to get his day in the sun here at some point. I'm keeping this one up here until further notice, because with all these other things that are going on, you really got to keep your eyes and ears open, because every single clue matters. They didn't do a lot of blackout scenes this time. You actually got to see what went on when Steven blacks out, because everything's starting to merge. And so the different clues and the things you don't know yet, there's personalities you haven't seen yet. There's a whole lot of backstory, again, that we haven't gotten to. And I think all these other little clues are really going to matter. Again, probably another QR code that's going to show us another comic book. And I'd be willing to bet that these comic stories and these writers and the special thanks and the credits and stuff, all these different people that they're giving nods to are really driving the story along, and they're telling you things about where they're going in this story. Another thing here that I think is really important, and it leads us into some other clues here, eyes and ears. At the end of the last episode, they featured a Egyptian-style rap song. I found a fan site on Facebook where some guy was actually talking about who the artist was, and I'm sorry I don't remember it right now, but you can look that up. You can look at who that is. The directors and the writers and all those kind of things, they're featuring Egyptian singers, Egyptian artists, all these different things in this story, and I think that there's a 50% chance here that we get some backstory, some weirdness out of a Khonshu story. That they made reference to, Arthur said that he was Khonshu's avatar at one point, and there's this idea that Khonshu was bouncing around. You got a little bit of that. I think you're going to get more of that. I don't know if you get it in this episode, but I think we're overdue for some kind of weird Eternals-style throwback, even if it's before the tag at the beginning of the episode, of Khonshu and Amit and all these different characters. Why are they in such odds? How did this thing begin that got to the point that these guys are now involved in it? It would be interesting to see a really far back thrown episode. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility because this show is really, really bonkers. I am putting a 40% chance here. I'm going to leave this one here every week, and it's going to gain 10% until we get to the finale. I think Harrow gets weird. I say divergent storylines explode because Harrow only appears in one Mooncraft comic. Moon Knight comic, and he's doing experiments for the Nazis somewhere in the Yucatan. He's not even this guy that Ethan Hawke is playing. So they have a lot of room to go somewhere different with this character. They just use somebody from the comics, but are there things going on that we don't know about Arthur? How did he get connected with this group? And again, if you think about the fact that Ethan Hawke is the guy playing Arthur Harrow, Ethan Hawke has taken some really straightforward roles and done some really awesome things with them, but Ethan Hawke loves the weird stuff. He loves things that have really good character development, but they're just a little twisted. A movie back from the 90s called Gattaca is a perfect example of that. It's a really straightforward character, and he plays it very well. He plays a mirror image of Jude Law, but it's a science fiction movie with a little bit of a weird twist. Ethan Hawke loves those kind of roles. If you've ever seen Daybreakers, it's another one like that. Really good character development, but also really, really weird. I don't think we've seen the weirdness that Harrow is going to get up to or any of the craziness that is yet to come. The stuff that's crazy that we've seen thus far was the stuff they showed us in the trailers with him, his tattoo or him praying and the floor opening up and summoning one of those jackals. That's the stuff they were willing to show us. What are they not willing to show us that's going to be even crazier? So I think Harrow's going to get weirder, maybe even in response to what happened in London as he's moving and going towards Amit's tomb. I think he wants to get there before anybody else. He knows that Stephen is not just going to help him, and he doesn't have Khonshu kind of wrapped up in Stephen's body. And so he's going to have to take some extreme measures and do some stuff to make this happen before his plan all goes to pot. Finally, another bold prediction, 100% here. Incoming Frenchie sighting here. When we looked at Marc's phone in episode 1, other than the Layla calls, there was an incoming or an outgoing call from Duchamp. That is John Paul Duchamp from the comics, also known as Frenchie. This guy helped Marc in Egypt. And I think given what we saw in the hotel here, where Marc is not too thrilled to be in Egypt, I think his buddy Frenchie is going to show up, especially because did Marc ditch Layla to try to protect her? Is Layla going to find her way to Egypt on her own? I think we're going to see Frenchie before we see anybody else, because clearly Frenchie's trying to get in touch with Marc, or Marc's trying to get in touch with Frenchie too. He's going to need all the help he can get, especially before Stephen comes in and saves the day. So a lot of different things going on here. I'm really I had to kind of take a stab in the dark at these because I don't really know where they're going. But it's going to be a really interesting episode because they've got so much room to play with this character. And with an origin story, they can go a lot of different directions, but you're getting the origin as you go in the middle of this story. And that's why I think we're going to get a lot of backstory at some point in the very, very near future. So tell us what you think. There's a whole lot of different directions this can go. Whole lot of possibilities, and I've seen a lot of good comments about the show so far. I've really enjoyed it. I watched episode 2 again a couple of times over the last couple of days, and it's starting to grow on me more. There's a lot of layers there, storyline-wise, that they really they really put out there, and now they're going to have to move forward with. And so this can go in a lot of different directions. But I think they're going to double down on the many different plot lines with some backstory, and then they're going to start bringing it back together in episodes 4, 5, and 6. So let us know what you guys think. Like and subscribe to our channel, and check out some of our other videos over here. We got a whole bunch of other content, including episode reviews and Easter eggs from the previous episodes. When the next one drops, guy, we'll catch you right back here. Later.